Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I'm going to be unveiling our new Skilitary 2.0 infographic, and I'm going to talk to you about how to use and make the most of the Skilitary team. This is an exciting team now with the rework because it is free to play friendly, totally farmable. It's a team folks are going to want to build to get training mats in the monthly event anyway. And it is a top tier war offense team with some members who have real use elsewhere. Red Guardian is fantastic in the Doom Raid. Black Widow, it can be very useful in the Doom Raid. Killmonger, a lot of people have already built up for Mercs and Chaos Theory and stuff. So there's a lot of reasons to build some of these characters. And what I want to do is talk to you about how to get the most out of this team because this is a team that's easy to screw up. One thing you need to know right away, and we're going to go over this through the infographic, and I'll walk through it here and explain my reasoning, is the T4s, because the T4s are a big part of this team. It is very T4 intensive. Still means it's free to play friendly because you really can't buy T4s. It's pretty rare that they have offers for those. That's more something you get over time. And really, the person who should be building this team is somebody putting orange gear on this team is somebody who's done with DD4 or has used some of these characters in DD4. I use both Black Widow and Punisher in DD4 because they have very low unique requirements, and I was one of the early racers in the very beginning of DD4. So Black Widow, Punisher, and Yelena are all 36. In terms of unique requirements, that's the lowest, pretty much the lowest, or close to the lowest you can have. And a lot of people are already, of course, building up Red Guardian for Doom Raid. So there are reasons to have some of these characters built. Let's talk about how to build them. I'm going to start with how much you want to gear these characters, what order you want to gear them, and how does the team work. That'll help you understand when I'm walking through the T4s and the ISO and so forth. Here's the thing. The number one most important character to gear up is Punisher. You need to have a big Punisher. He has a top 10 damage stat in the game still. He has not been power crept on that damage stat. And this ability, which you'll use first, the ultimate, is really going to enable you to potentially delete a key opponent, whether it's Doc Ock if you're going up against Sinister Six, or you're mostly going to be using this against Mercs because this is a very reliable Merc counter, can punch up, can beat Shuri Mercs, the best version of the Mercs pretty easily. So here he does, not only the 200% damage plus 20% piercing, but 240% damage plus 20% piercing on top of that, so that's 440. But then, since he's striker, he'll do another attack on top of it, so it'll be a triple tap as long as it's marked by a skirmisher. More on that later. And, of course, he does 50% damage against villains, additional damage against villains. So, against, let's say, the Mercs or Sinister Six, he's going to, really, really be able to delete someone early. So, you can imagine if you delete someone like Taskmaster early or Shuri, depending on how you want to do it, that can just cripple that Mercs team. On the other hand, if you're going up against a team like Sinister Six, it can totally cripple them if you take out Doc Ock. So that's why you want him to be big. Only 36 uniques to get him up to gear level 15. And I'm going to explain later. You really want to not only have that T4 on the alt, but on the special as well, since he's your big damager. Then after that, you just want your Red Guardian big enough to make sure he takes the hits. Mine's G15 because I was using him in Doom Raid. I decided to do that. I was also using him in Arena as well. But, he is definitely, a character who you want to have big to take the hits, but he doesn't necessarily need to be G15. Then separately, I would say that the next characters will be Black Widow and Yelena, and I have this on the infographic as well. My Black Widow, Black Widow doesn't need to be this large. Mine is just because I had brought her to DD4 early on. But Black Widow and Yelena basically just need to be big enough to land their debuffs. Black Widow steals buffs, she stuns, Yelena plans disrupt. Yelena really has a focus issue, which is one reason why she is Skirmisher. Getting her to level 5 Skirmisher is very, very helpful. But she really needs to land this disrupt early on. So, for example, if you're going up against them Marauders, you want to disrupt Strife and then use that Punisher attack to delete Emma. if you're going up against Sinister Six, you might, you'll use that disrupt on Doc Ock. If you're going up against Mercs, you use it on Merc Riot Guard. You want that disrupt there so you don't have to focus on the tank or have a situation where you might get caught. Your target may be unreachable because of the tank that's there. So that's essentially how this team goes. Black Widow and Yelena, you just have big enough to hit their targets, and then Merc Soldier is essentially there more or less as a stat stick. You absolutely need him on the team for that 40% damage. You're not going to leave off 40% damage, but he gets that whether he's alive or dead. And now with the rework, even if one or two members die, you still get all the bonuses. They no longer require 3 or more skill military allies to work. So the team works even if he's dead. You guys will still have this damage. Now, one thing I will say is the best version of this team leaves off Killmonger. He should stay on your mercs, and then you put Black Widow here. The reason Black Widow is better on skill military than she is on wave 1 is not only does she get all the bonuses that she'd give to wave 1, like clearing negative effects, applying speed up to the entire team, but also now on self or ally stealth. In other words, her stealth or Yelena's, she applies offense up to the entire skill military team and death proof to Yelena and Red Guardian. She also assists now not only on Hawkeye's turn, which was great in wave 1, but on both Red Guardian and Yelena. So she's clearly the better here than she is on wave 1. So, if you have this team built, you're going to want to use her here and then just throw whether it's Coulson or Captain Marvel or Iron Man or something on wave 1 as a filler. That team won't be as good, but you're going to make that sacrifice to have a better war offense team. All right, let's walk through the T4s now. I'm going to go to the infographic here, and that is linked below, so you can check it out. And, of course, you can also check it out on our Discord. So the T4 order, you really want to have the Red Guardian passive. That's important for a bunch of reasons. Let's go to that right now. The Red Guardian passive not only gives 20% health to the entire team, but on spawn, apply speed up to all skill military allies. That's used. That's how this team goes before a lot of other teams. They're going to get to go first. That's a big deal. It also means that the team can't be blinded on start, and their early attacks won't miss. And that is because of the Elena passive, which we'll get to later. So this is an absolute must. It's one of the core things that makes the team work. All right. Now, the next T4 that is absolutely necessary is going to be the Punisher Ultimate. And we already talked a little bit about the Punisher Ultimate. That was something we talked about a moment ago. You need that so that he gets that extra attack and then beginning to delete someone. That's kind of how the team gets a major advantage early on. I feel like these two T4s are core to how the team functions. And then we have the next one is that Merc Soldier passive, which I showed you earlier. The Merc Soldier passive is what gives you 40% damage to the team. I just think that you're not going to want to lose out on 40% damage. I just think that is too good to pass up. The next one is the Black Widow special, and there's definitely a teardrop after these top 3. In other words, the top 3 are just like you can't do without them. But I think Black Widow, you absolutely need that T4 as well. And the reason why is there are just too many times where this team gets screwed with negative effects. So, for example, if you're going up against the Mercs and you don't have this T4, dealing with all the bleeds that you might have, for example, from Taskmaster, adds an element of RNG to the fight that you really don't want to have. You want to just have something that's reliable. Against Sinister Six, you're going to have a lot of bleeds from Swarm. Against Wave 1, you'll have some. You'll have the slows from Emma, for example. Or, excuse me, not Wave 1. Against Marauders, you're going to have the slows from Emma. So you're always going to have negative effects to clear. I just think that is too powerful to ignore. The next one here is the Elena passive, and then we could talk about the Elena special at the same time. These are also just really core to how the team works. So the Elena passive, here I'll show you now. Not only does it lower the enemy's crit chance by an additional 15%, but on war offense at the end of any turn. If anybody other than Red Guardian is taunting, it clears taunt and applies stealth and +2 regen to them. And that's absolutely huge. And it also lowers the chance to assist. Or no, that is on an earlier one. But I think this is absolutely huge. This enables you to take on the Mercs. Without this T4, it is impossible to take on Mercs. That's really important. You absolutely need this T4 if you want to do it, because Taskmaster will put taunt on a high damage character on your team, and then the Mercs will all focus him or her and kill that character. That could be a huge problem. Your Punisher could be gone very early on, for example. Um, and then also, this is a key piece of that passive, by the way. If this character has speed up, all skill military allies gain 100% accuracy. In other words, even if they're blind, they cannot miss. That's really huge. They will have that speed up on spawn, but then as soon as Black Widow takes a turn, you want to use their special to give speed up for 2 more turns, so that this way the team isn't going to get blinded by Taskmaster when he goes and blinds the team, and when they're taking turns and so forth, because as soon as they're taking turns, they're losing that initial speed up that they had. And then the special here is also necessary, I think. This is to ensure that the disrupted is for 2 turns, which I think is really useful and important here. The disrupt essentially will mean that you can ignore the tank for longer. I think that's important. Gaining the additional stealth is also nice, because when she stealth, and you'll have this here for the ultimate, she gets she's going to have additional crit chance as well on this attack. So I think that'll, she's somebody you want to kind of keep stealth. I think she has, let's see here, on offense, up when stealth. There you go. While this character has stealth, gain 100% crit damage. So what you want to do is have her keep her stealth for the ultimate, so that this way she gets 100% crit damage. Ideally, you keep this character in stealth as long as possible. She also has a very high damage stat, by the way, and very easy to farm character now in Heroes 5, 6 or something. So, essentially, with this T4, this is a nice to have T4, which we'll have later. But with this attack, she's got extra crit chance. She does 100% crit damage. So this can be a high damage attack for turn 2, as long as you have, a good gear level on her. All right, let's get to the next one. The next one is going to be the Red Guardian special. And this is, we're starting to get into ones where I think these last 3, I think reasonable minds could differ on these. I think the Red Guardian special is, a very important one for raids. I think it's helpful here as well, because not only does he clear 2 negative effects, but he gives the addition on himself, but he gets the additional healing for the team. And I find that this is what enables you to do punch-ups. This is what enables the team to perform at a higher level. It eliminates RNGs to go from 15% to, get the additional, as much healing as possible. So we're starting to get into the ones where I have them as a priority. I think it's, you could argue about whether it's essential or not, but I think these last few would make me feel comfortable if I was using the team, having these T4s on them. Clearing the negative, you don't really want to have a situation, for example, where he's got defense down. This clears those. You just don't want any RNG that gets Red Guardian down. And this is his first turn 1 ability that you're going to use to apply defense up to the team and to gain taunt and to heal himself and allies. All right, and then the next one on the list, and these are where we're starting to get into the ones where, like I said, I'm sure I'll get comments where it's like, well, I think only the first 7 or only the first 8. But these are all really good T4s. I mean, here the Black Widow passive not only gives her additional speed, but gives her additional assists on Red Guardian and Yelena's turn. I mean, that's really, really good. You're getting additional attacks on those turns, additional damage. Plus, the assists give her a chance to steal buffs, which is absolutely huge. and that's why you're going to have her as a striker. We'll go over ISO in a minute. But, she's somebody who can constantly keep the enemy debuffed, putting buffs on herself. She'll end up stealing tons and tons of buffs. So I really like getting additional assists on her. I think that's just an absolutely huge ability. And on almost any other team, this would be really high up on the list. For Wave 1, for example, it was one of the top T4s. It's just that there's so many amazing T4s in this team, it is hard to pick them all. And then this is another one where reasonable minds could differ as to whether it's essential, but I really think it is. And this is essentially the turn 2 of Punisher, the special. And what I really like about it is not only you getting additional damage, but you're transferring one positive effect from the primary target to self and all skill military allies. That's a mechanic that is throughout these kits here. I like it here because Punisher is your big damage dealer. So getting more damage out of him, getting that transfer early on in the match, I like. It's really all about getting the most you can out of Punisher and using Punisher to finish off enemies early. I really think that's what allows this team to snowball and perform very well. So look, I know that this is, by the way, a very long T4 list. I really had a debate, for Yelena's ultimate and Merc Soldier's ultimate. I mean, I could have had this be 11. It is really just kind of a line that you have to draw for yourself and how far you want to go to make this team perform well, because there are a lot of amazing T4s here. The Elena Ultimate, we already talked about that, gives her additional crit chance, which since she'll be in stealth, because you'll have done the passive, or excuse me, done the special, you're going to have a 100% additional crit damage as well. A lot of damage there. And then the other one is on Merc Soldier. His special is great, transferring a positive effect from primary target to self and all skill military allies. My thought process is this is going to be the guy who's the lowest gear priority, whereas Punisher is going to be huge. So you really want to get that additional damage more on the Punisher rather than on the Merc Soldier. That's my thought process there. Let's talk ISO for a second. ISO and positioning is listed on the infographic, which is linked below. But why do the most important thing is you really want to have Punisher as a striker. He's an absolute must-have as a striker. And then you need to have skirmishers, and the skirmishers are going to be Elena and Merc Soldier. And the reason that I would encourage you to have both of them as skirmishers, first of all, Yelena needs that level 5 ISO bonus really to get the focus that she needs. She's got a focus issue. They did not buff that. They did make the rework did make it so that this attack can't be blocked, but the attack nonetheless. So deflects aren't an issue, that sort of thing. But definitely focus is still a problem for her. So I think she needs that skirmisher. But she's also going to go before Punisher. Merc Soldier also goes before Punisher. Those two can mark targets. And the reason I think you want to have both of them as skirmisher, is, well, first of all, Merc Soldier anyway, is only got one attack that hits more than one target. He makes sense as a skirmisher. He's going to have low gear level here too, so it's not like he's going to be doing a lot of damage as a striker or raider or whatever anyway. But sometimes you're going to have a situation where you need Yelena to disrupt the tank, let's say Merc Riot Guard, and then Merc Soldier is going to mark a target for Punisher to delete, because you want to have that vulnerable so Punisher gets that additional tap to get the triple tap. So you want to have those two skirmishers. Red Guardian you could have as a skirmisher if you really want to land the ability block with his ultimate. I just keep him as healer. I think that's a better choice for him. Black Widow, I think you want a striker because her assist counter is so awesome. She basically steals. Her assist counter has been changed now, so she steals the buffs off the enemy and copies them. Even on those ISO attacks and assists and counters and so forth, as long as she's in stealth, which she often is. So I would strongly recommend you have her as a striker as well. I think this is clearly the best ISO setup for the team. I also talk a little bit about positioning. The bottom line there is you're going to want to have Red Guardian on one end, Punisher all the way on the other. You can't have Punisher die or else your damage is way too low. And then essentially what you do is you put Merc Soldier in the middle. He's pretty expendable. And then the Stealthers are next to these folks in the end to sort of break up chains and things like that. But in any event, this is a great team you should invest in. The question is just how much to invest in this team. And my suggestion is consider bringing the Red Guardian, Punisher, Black Widow, Yelena to DD4. They are now. I'm going to be updating my DD4 infographic with this patch. Punisher and Black Widow were already on it. Yelena will be back on. Red Guardian's on it. These are good characters to consider for DD4. But if you're through DD4 is when I think this is a team that is a good one to build. You're going to want to have those characters built for that Flash event anyway. And they have some use elsewhere. Black Widow and Red Guardian most notably in the Doom raids. And, of course, it's a Tier 1 war offense team. So if you care about war, this team is very, very good at that. All right, guys, if you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, check out our Discord below. Lots of great discussions happening there. And, of course, check out our Twitch stream. That is going on every evening.